Feel like it?
Here's one called Little Darling Pal of Mine. My little darling, oh how I love you, how I love you, none can tell. In your heart you love another, little darling pal of mine. There's many a day with you I rambled, countless hours with you I spent. I thought I had your heart forever, but I find it was only lent. My little darling, oh how I love you, how I love you, none can tell. In your heart you love another, little darling pal of mine. Get her, Curtis. Many a night while you lay sleeping, dreaming of your amber sky, I was just a poor boy, so broken-hearted, listening to the wind that sighed. My little darling, oh how I love you, how I love you, none can tell. In your heart you love another, little darling pal of mine. Let's make it, Jack. Darling, oh how I love you, how I love you, none can tell. In your heart you love another, little darling pal of mine. Another kind of a song they did were a sort of fun love song. Here's a song about an old boy that loved a girl, but he was too jealous. She wasn't going to marry him. It's called Lula Wall, another Carter friendly tune. One evening getting dark, I met her at the park. I knew my time to fall in love had come. When I lifted up my hat, then she began to chat, and she said she'd allow me to see her at her home. Such a star I've never seen. She's as pretty as a queen, as perfect as an angel from above. If she'd only be my wife, I'd live happy all my life with that aggravating beauty, Lula Wall. Take it, Jack. One evening getting late, when I left her at her gate, I asked her if she'd wed me in the fall. But she only turned away, and nothing would she say. Oh, that aggravating beauty, Lula Wall. Such a star I've never seen. She's as pretty as a queen, and as perfect as an angel from above. If she'd only be my wife, I'd be happy all my life with that aggravating beauty, Lula Wall. If she were only mine, oh, I'd build a mansion fine, and around it I'd build a fence so tall. For I would so jealous be if anyone but me could gaze upon that beauty, Lula Wall. such a star I've never seen. She's as pretty as a queen, as perfect as an angel from above. If she'd only be my wife, I'd live happy all my life with that aggravating beauty, Lula Wall.
Doc Watson there, and a Carter family tune, that aggravating beauty, Lula Walls. Well, it's been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon, Minnesota, my hometown. It's starting to turn green up there. Trees blossoming out a little bit, lilacs have a little mist of green on them. Some of those little crocuses starting to poke their heads up. Some of the people starting to sort of come alive too. Though in my hometown, sometimes it's not easy to tell. We Wobegonians, even when we are in love, what to us is a romantic passion appears as only mild interest. Because we're low-key people. And when we're mad, when we're angry and upset, it appears about the same as when we're in love. It's hard to tell. It makes marriage complicated if you've married somebody from the outside who doesn't know how to read those subtle signs. An Auslander, you know. You could come home upset, and she'd look at you and put her arms around you and misinterpret things entirely. Which happened to Pastor Inquist the other day. I believe it was Tuesday. He was walking along the street, and he heard someone cry out in anger to the Lord, a phrase not often heard spoken that loud in that part of town, outdoors, by a woman. And he was surprised, and he turned back to look, and just at that moment he walked straight into a parking meter. And that same phrase sort of occurred to him as he sank slowly down onto the concrete. 2 parking meters in town, and he ran into one of them. Didn't run, walked, but it was the same. He sat there for a moment and collected his senses, what he could find of them, and walked home just as Judy was pulling in the driveway. And he kind of limped along in a kind of a strange gait across the lawn towards her, and she took one look at him and she said, "No, I know what you're thinking, and not now. Later maybe, but not now. I've got to make supper." So it's strange it's hard to understand people in my hometown, men especially, I should say, by what they show on their faces. Clarence Bunsen was up at the Chatterbox Cafe with a kind of a placid look on his face the other day. I believe it was Wednesday, and was having some of Dorothy's corn chowder, and he got a little bit of the corn stuck way back in a back molar, and he was picking it out with a toothpick. And suddenly he felt a rock in his mouth, and he spat it out, and it went boing in the bowl, and there it was, the big gold cap of a back molar. He could feel with his tongue this little sharp point of a tooth left back there. It tasted kind of rotten, kind of disgusting, and he was feeling it with his tongue as he walked down to the post office. And so he was a little bit distracted because he went down to the post office because his daughter Barbara Ann is expecting her first child this summer, and he was looking for a letter from her. He opened up his box and looked into it and pulled out some junk mail and some shoppers and circulars and pulled the stuff out, and there at the back of his box was the postmaster's face peering in at him. Bob Bowser looking at him and said, "Morning, Clarence." Clarence wasn't thinking, and Bob said, "Bonnie was asking me if you and Arlene wouldn't come up to supper on Thursday night." And Clarence was so distracted, he didn't have time to think of a lie right away. He said, Thursday. Oh, you mean this? You mean tomorrow night? Thursday. Let me see, Thursday. Trying to think of something plausible they might be doing that night that he could make plans for as soon as he left the post office. Thursday, he said, there's a kind of a 20-second time limit on that lie, you know. You have to come up with it quick. Thursday, he said, okay. All right, he heard the buzzer go off. All right, Thursday night, sure, I'll tell Arlene. Arlene couldn't believe it. She said, the Bowsers, they don't owe us supper. They don't owe us supper. We were the last ones. We were up there. We went to their house. And that was in 1964, I think. What are they thinking of? Well, they didn't know. Arlene and Clarence walked up to the Bowsers. Clarence was kind of afraid that Bob wouldn't serve any liquor, so he took along 4 rum-filled chocolates wrapped in gold foil, put them in his pocket, try and ease the way through the supper, and had 2 of them on his way up there. They sat, supper passed, sort of quietly, because Bob keeps the radio on while they eat, you know, not to wear anybody out in unnecessary conversation. He keeps the radio on, turned up, so they sat there and afterwards went into the living room. And Bonnie sat down at her new electric organ and was going to play them a tune. And Arlene said, something's changed here in your living room. Something's different. Trying to think back to 1964. Bonnie said, well, I got this from the Kmart. She said, she held up a lamp. She said, this is I believe they call it a voice-sensitive lamp. You watch when I sing. You see how it flickers. The light flickers. It makes different patterns or something. So she placed her hands on the keyboard in the C chord position, and she played a little bit. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. Chicka, 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 chicka. In my heart I have but one desire. Arlene was thinking all the time, what is different in this room? Statuary is all there. The state plates are there. The spoons. Plastic plants. What's odd? Heart, I have but one desire, and that one is you. None other will do. Chugga, 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 chugga. Arlene said, your couch. You've got a new love seat. What happened to your old couch? Bob shot them a sharp and a bitter look. He said, she threw out my couch. He said, I tell you, until she brings it back, he said, I'm sleeping in Bernetta's bed. Bernetta is their daughter. She doesn't live there anymore, but it shocked Clarence to hear it. And he grabbed a rum-filled chocolate out of his pocket, and he ate it, gold foil and all. He chomped down on it. And have you ever had a bare tooth and you chomp down on the gold foil? Oh! Gosh, it just reawakened that dead nerve. He said, oh! Oh, it hurt. So that's why he was out walking that night. 1 o'clock in the morning, he was walking around town, feeling that old molar in the back of his mouth. 2 o'clock in the morning, Clarence was walking. 2:30, 3 o'clock. After that, I don't know. I went to bed myself, so...